I returned from lunch. I found my mother being yelled at on the company stair landing. My mother, dressed as a cleaner, apologizes to the CEO's daughter in a wetsuit. She looked like she was about to prostrate herself in apology any moment. Growing up, my mother had always juggled part-time and temporary jobs to raise me on her own. I wanted to give her an easier life, so I worked hard during my job search. Somehow I managed to get employed as a full-time employee at the current company. It's a well-known, leading firm in the industry. I wanted my mother to quit her job and take it easy. But even though she is an employee of a large company, her salary is not that high at the beginning of her career.
Don't you have to pay back your college scholarship? If I quit my job, our living conditions would be as tight as before.
After saying that, my mother continued working even after I started my career. 2 years later, to my surprise, she joined my company as a cleaning staff member. She applied for the janitorial position after her temporary job contract ended. And coincidentally, she was assigned to my company. Both of us were shocked at first, but now we've grown accustomed to seeing each other at work. My colleagues also know the cleaning lady is my mother, and they greet her whenever they pass her in the hallway.
There are many nice people in your company.
She joyfully said this when she had just been assigned. Although she seemed to enjoy her work. Now she is bowing deeply in the stairwell to the president's daughter, Karen.
What are you going to do? This is an important suit. Look what you've done.
The one angry is Karen, who has drenched the front of her tailor-made suit. There's a spilled bucket on the floor and a puddle of dirty water surrounding it. It seems my mother accidentally splashed the dirty water from the bucket onto Karen. Karen, who joined the company a term after me, is the president's daughter and is treated very delicately by everyone in the company. I don't personally know Karen, but I've heard that she's a well-raised lady without any airs. Even though she's the president's daughter. However, when you add the title, CEO's daughter, everyone becomes unsure of how to interact with her. As a result, Karen feels a bit isolated in the company. Now, Karen is loudly scolding my apologetic mother.
I'll contact the management company and get you fired.
I deeply apologize.
I hurriedly approached to help my mother and bowed alongside her. I'm terribly sorry.
Who are you?
I answered while still bowing. This lady is my mother. So sorry. I'll pay for the cleaning, so please, can you spare her job?
I don't need your money for cleaning or whatever.
Please. I pulled out cash from my wallet. At that moment, Karen's gaze met mine, and she looked puzzled. Ignoring it, I handed her the cash. I had a terrible burn mark on my face. As a child, I accidentally knocked over a kettle that was boiling on a stove, and got scalded by the hot water. She probably noticed the scar on my face. That's why she looked so puzzled. Karen, she didn't take the money, stared at me with surprise. Then suddenly turned around and walked away without saying a word. Wait. If you don't want the cleaning fee, at least take my handkerchief. Thinking she'd be uncomfortable in wet clothes, I chased after Karen to offer my handkerchief. However, Karen did not even glance in my direction, but said a single word, "It's okay," and walked down the hallway. This is bad. I stood frozen in place. I must have really upset her. My mother said, looking down.
I'm sorry. It was my carelessness. Is she the CEO's daughter? If my mistake makes it hard for you at work.
It's okay. Don't worry about it, Mom. I couldn't really believe it was okay, but I didn't want to see my mother more upset. So I had to say that. The rest of the day, I worked feeling downcast. Having upset the CEO's daughter, I felt like I could be reprimanded at any moment. And word about the incident had already spread throughout the office. Because of the burn on my face, even those I didn't know well recognized me. By the next day, I was already known throughout the office as the guy who upset Karen. My colleagues, not wanting to get on the bad side of the CEO and his daughter, started to keep their distance from me. I let out a quiet sigh. Everything was just as my mother feared. the office became unbearable for me. 2 weeks after the incident, I was finally called into the CEO's office. On my way there, I ran into my mother, who was dressed as a janitor. It seemed she was being called in too. This must be about the incident. Are we going to be scolded? Have our pay cut? Or, worst of all, fired? Filled with grim thoughts, I knocked on the CEO's door with my mother. "Excuse us." Upon entering, both the CEO and, as expected, Karen were present.
Thank you for coming on such short notice.
Facing the CEO and his daughter, looking into their eyes, I said, "I deeply apologize for the trouble I caused by staining your dress." My mother also looked into their eyes and said,
I'm truly sorry for my carelessness. I don't know how to apologize. We'll definitely compensate, but please reconsider any punishment for my son. He was just trying to defend me.
"Mom." Seeing my mother plead for me with a trembling voice, my heart ached.
Please, both of you, lift your heads.
The CEO's voice was surprisingly calm. I looked up, feeling bewildered.
The reason I called you here today is that my daughter has something she wants to discuss regarding the incident. Karen.
Yes.
Urged by the CEO, Karen stepped forward. Her expression wasn't one of anger or contempt but rather appeared remorseful.
I am truly sorry for the other day.
Karen bowed deeply, much like I had earlier.
Huh?
Our voices overlapped. Karen looked up, a bit despondent, and began.
The truth is, that suit belonged to my late mother. Specifically, it was my late mother's suit, tailored to fit me. It was very precious to me, so when it got wet, I overreacted. I'm really sorry for the way I lashed out, especially considering what happened that day.
Karen continued, explaining that, as the CEO's daughter, she was treated with kid gloves, something I was well aware of. Out of consideration to not burden the CEO's daughter with challenging tasks and not to upset her. She was rarely assigned significant work in her department and was mostly tasked with simple jobs. Karen was growing frustrated with this day-to-day situation.
I wanted to challenge myself more. I wanted to work hard and earn a place for myself by getting recognized for my efforts.
For Karen, being treated specially just because she was CEO's daughter was nothing but painful.
So, at one point, I told my superior, "Please give me a chance."
As a result, Karen got involved in a major project in collaboration with another company. By the time she got a grasp of the project and could follow the meetings without any issues, Karen was assigned an important. This was a significant task for Karen, and determined to succeed. She had her late mother's suit tailored for her to wear as her battle gear for the presentation.
The day of that presentation was the day I got splashed with water.
However, due to her nerves and inexperience, Karen couldn't respond adequately during the Q&A.
Of course, I didn't expect everything to go smoothly from the start. But having finally received a major task and not being able to fulfill it was devastating.
As she returned to the company feeling dejected, she accidentally spilled dirty mop water on me because I slipped on the stairs. This incident, combined with the previous setbacks, made her snap.
I'm truly sorry. It's inexcusable as an adult to lose one's temper like that. But I just couldn't control my emotions after everything that went wrong. You must have felt so bad because of my outburst. I'm truly sorry.
No, it's...
Mother seemed flustered as Karen bowed her head again.
I am the one who should apologize. I ruined your mother's suit. It must have been so precious to you. I don't know how I can make it up to you, but please let me do something.
It's not a big deal, really.
The one who spoke was the CEO.
It's already at the cleaners, but they said the stain should come out easily. Please, don't worry about compensation.
Is that so? That's a relief.
Mother sighed in relief.
Actually, I wanted to thank both of you.
CEO said. Huh? I asked in return. Thank you.
Yes. This incident made me realize that my daughter might be mentally unstable. She wasn't like this before, losing her temper so easily. I felt I needed to take some time to talk to her. Only after listening to her did I understand the discomfort she felt within the company and the immense stress she was under. Had it not been for this incident, I might have been at odds with Karen forever. When I think about it, this incident was truly a blessing for me. Thank you both for giving me the opportunity to talk with my daughter.
It's nothing. Caught off guard by CEO's unexpected words of gratitude, my mother and I were both taken aback. The CEO then turned to Karen and said,
So, Karen, you had one more thing you wanted to talk to him about, didn't you?
Yes.
Karen nodded gently. She then pulled out a slightly old amulet from her pocket. She held it out towards me.
Mr. Morgan, do you recognize this amulet?
The amulet had academic success embroidered on it. I looked at the amulet and tilted my head for a few seconds. Ah. Yes, I do. Is this?
I knew it was you back then.
Karen smiled happily. A memory from a winter day when I was in my third year of middle school came flooding back. It was the morning of a high school entrance exam. I was asked for directions to the hospital by a girl I didn't know, who seemed to be around my age back then. She looked desperate, saying she didn't understand California's transport system. Thinking California's trains can be confusing, I pondered on how to explain, but eventually decided to accompany her to the nearest station to the hospital. I had left home early intending to do some last-minute study at the exam venue, so I had some time to spare. This meant I missed my last chance to cram though. On the train to the hospital's nearest station, I asked her about her. Her mother was hospitalized there. Usually, her father was busy working to pay for the medical bills and couldn't come home. So, she lived with her paternal grandparents in the countryside and hadn't been to California since she was in elementary school. She had received a call the previous night that her mother was critical. So she took the first train to California. She wanted to get to the hospital as soon as possible, but the complex transport system of California confused her. She was really grateful to me for helping her out. When she sprinted through the turnstile at the hospital's closest station, I gave her the amulet I had on me. Seeing her anxious and teary face, I felt uneasy letting her go alone. But I had my own exam to attend to and couldn't accompany her further. Sorry. I'm just a student, so this is all I have. I hope this helps your mother. I gave her the amulet embroidered with academic success. It was me who was lost that day, Karen said.
After that, I reached the hospital safely and got to speak with my mother for a bit. If I had been lost for just 5 more minutes, I might not have been able to see her. So I was really grateful to that boy. And the other day, when I saw your face, I remembered it all.
This right. I pointed to the large burn scar on my face. Karen must have remembered my scar from when she was a young girl.
Yes.
Karen nodded hesitantly.
If it turned out you were that boy, I would have felt like I repaid your kindness with ingratitude. I wanted to be sure. Thank you so much for that day. And I'm truly, truly sorry for shouting at your mother the other day.
Please accept my gratitude and apology as well, the CEO added after Karen.
Thank you for introducing me to your wife and daughter the other day. And I apologize for my daughter's behavior then.
The CEO and Karen bowed to me together. Wah. Please, lift your head, CEO. And you too, Karen. The CEO looks up and then tells my mother.
Ma'am, you have an incredible son.
Code not at all.
Don't be modest. Moreover, you have quite a reputation in our company.
What?
Among the cleaning staff, there's someone who greets everyone with a warm smile. When greeted by that person, even if we're feeling down at work, it lifts our spirits. I've been hearing such stories lately. That cleaner, it's you, isn't it?
Well,
Maybe so, I thought on behalf of my mother, who humbly shut up. I had been told several times by my peers. The CEO looks up and then tells my mother.
Thanks to your cleaning and greetings, the air in the company is being cleaned and purifying little by little. I have a feeling that you're doing that. You must be a good fit with our company culture and our employees.
well, thank you.
I have a proposition for you. Would you like to work for us?
What?
You're currently working for us as a temp from another cleaning management company, aren't you? Why don't you switch them to our direct employment? You may have to do some clerical work as well, but it would be a more stable employment. If you are willing to do so, of course.
My mother and I looked at each other in surprise. How is this possible? My mother looked incredulous and asked, "Are you sure?" She asked.
Of course, I'm sure you will be a good mood maker for the company.
From that day on, the transfer procedures for my mother went smoothly. A few days later, she became an employee of the same company as me. I don't know the details because she was in a different department from me. But it seems that she had done some office work as a temporary worker in the past. And she was able to learn the job surprisingly quickly. She has become friendly with the other employees. And now she and Karen sometimes have lunch together. Karen may be seeing a shadow of her mother in me. My mother said. Karen has recently started to be assigned work. And she has gradually begun to distinguish herself from her father. Gradually, she is gaining recognition for her abilities, which has given her confidence and mental stability. And she is no longer as emotional as she used to be. I felt relieved that Karen had found a place where she could shine. I must do my best to live up to my mother and Karen. Inspired by the two of them, I went to work today with renewed vigor.